Hey there, everyone. This is Sharon, the founder of Self Care for Black Men. And so this evening, I'm going to talk about John Henryism and self care. And pretty much with John Henryism, I read an article back in December. And I tell you, when I read this article, oh my, it definitely allowed me to see why I created Self Care for Black Men. And pretty much with that, it gave me the language to help explain why self care is so important for Black men. And so let me go ahead and put in the title here so that when people join, they know what we are talking about. And then we'll get started. There we go. So I am live on Instagram and on Facebook. And for any of you who follow me and everything, especially when it comes to self care for Black men, one of the things we do here is that we always start off with a moment of silence. And this is so important. And once I get a little bit more into the discussion, then you'll find out why it is so important. And so let's just take a really deep breath and exhale through your nose. Let's just take another deep breath. And this time exhale through your mouth. Empty completely out. And inhale. And exhale through your mouth. And let's just sit and breathe here for at least just 1 minute. I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute as well. And if it's easier to center your heart with the rhythm of your breath, go ahead and do that. And with each breath, relax your muscles and release any tension. And let's bring your attention back to the surface. And inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose. And with that practice, you can do that for 1 minute, for 2 minutes, for 3 minutes. And I would say if that is not in your practice, if you don't have a ritual of doing that, at least do it for 1 minute from the start and just sit there and breathe, pretty much just to allow yourself to be in, pretty much just allow yourself to be in silence, because silence is really important. And so again, I want to talk a little bit about an article that I read. And the name of the article, it was from Pro Publico, and they wrote an article on how COVID-19 hollowed out a generation of young black men. And pretty much with this article, they did a a fantastic job of really talking about stress, racism, health disparity, and just how pretty much everyday men are just trying to make it in the world. And even with that trying, that effort, how it end up having a wear and tear on the body. And so, again, for me, self care for Black men is just really so important. Yes, I do a lot of inspirational and motivational type of things, and, trying to bring you guys, information of, different type of things that you can do to be healthy. But this article, most definitely, it is a must read for every black man. Please read this article because it's not just about COVID-19. It's really talking about even things generations ago that has happened in society. And even though we know a lot of times we talk a lot about slavery, but unfortunately, how America was built, with those systems, it still exists. And so when it comes to John Henryism, I didn't even realize, like there was like a legend or folklore of John Henry. I mean, I have an uncle whose name was John Henry, and I just thought it was something that old folks just named their children, but not realizing, as they say, over time, you kind of end up losing the context of why certain things happen and things like that. But pretty much with John Henry, I'm going to say when it comes to the legend of John Henry, there's two. There's kind of like two sides of the story. One side of the story is he was a man, he was a steel driving man. He pretty much had defeated the steam powered drill during the railroad days. And so, almost like today, it's like today is technology. It's kind of like, oh, what can I do? Oh, I need to work longer and smarter, and you end up putting all of this effort in working more in order to quote unquote so that a technology, and back then it was the steam powered drill at that time, so this technology won't be able to take them over. But anyway, a lot of times people end up using that story and say, oh, this is a really good story, for being so strong and determined, and that is wonderful. But the other side of that story is that part of the other legend, and from my understanding, some say it's not true, some say it's true, but the other part, yeah, but he ended up dying with a hammer in his hand. And in our society, we have this thing about hustling and grinding, but hustling and grinding is literally killing people, and especially our black men. And what it is, it's the wear and tear of the body. And when it comes to wear and tear of the body, it's wear and tear of the mind, it's wear and tear of the spirit. And then that, and then the other thing when it comes to this that I want to make sure that I point out is a lot of this is system. We always talk about the system, but it really is of just how embedded certain things is. And so again, when it comes to John Henryism, there's a theory out there that pretty much says, all of the, work and effort that you put into of the things you want to do to become successful and to not even become successful, but just to make it in this world. But it's also the very same thing that end up having wear and tear of the body. And that's how people end up dying even very early in life. And so the other one thing, a couple of things that came out of this article, they talked about high effort coping. And I know when I've really never heard of this word, that term before until I heard it from Dr. Gail Parker. And anytime she talks about it, she talks about Michelle Obama book, Becoming, and just pretty much just kind of like, what do we all do in order to succeed in something in order to complete. And when I kind of think about it for myself, it's kind of like what I put myself through in order to get my master's degree, what I put myself through in order to get my undergraduate degree. So it's those type of things. It's kind of like, what do people do, when they're in the military, what they do at certain jobs. And then you have like productivity and high expectations, not even of yourself, but it's just the day in and day out of living and when it comes to working. And so, along with high effort coping, it's pretty much it's a problem focused coping strategy. It's something that we all have it. We all have it within us, and but over time, continuing to hustling and grind without resting, without eating healthy. And then not only that, it's the stress that is that society, it's the stress of society. It's the stress in which blacks endure, and especially that black men endure. And so when it comes to a high effort coping, I'm about to say mechanism, high effort coping, racial discrimination, racial disparities, and racial health disparities, food deserts, redlining, unequal pay, all of that, all of the things that you endure, that is stress on your body. So it weakens. So any stress on your body is pretty much the reaction of what happens. And so that's wear and tear of the body and wear and tear of the spirit. And so over time, what ends up happening? What ends up happening over time? And again, I tell you, with this particular article, how COVID-19 hollowed out a generation of young black men. Again, please, 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 please read this article. Men, my black kings. If anything, I hope that it will definitely allow you to really see what stress does to the body. And in that way, you can, reach out to Self Care for Black Men for resources and the programs that we have so that you can be well, so that you can be well. And so we know that when it comes to blacks in general, and especially when it comes to black men, in that black men end up dying at a much earlier age than any other race out there. And again, that is because of what you guys endured, the stress that you endured. And I always remember, you know, like sometimes in the medical field, they almost make it sound like by being black, like when it comes to high blood pressure and diabetes and heart disease, it's almost like you have it because you're black. It's not because you're black, it's because of what you endure because of your blackness. It's what you endure. It's not because of the color of your skin. It's what you have to, you're welcome, you're welcome. It's what you have to pretty much go through. It's what you see, the vicarious trauma. You know, we've all seen it, the killing of black men by police and just the racial unrest. All of that is stress on the body. And when it's stress on the body, it's going to impact your mood, your thinking, your spirit. That impacts, you financially because of the fat, again, wear and tear of the body, wear and tear of the body. And one thing that I do want to make sure that I say as well before I get a little bit more into it is that when it comes to experiences, thoughts, and behaviors, repetitive experiences, thoughts, and behaviors, whether positive or negative, it rewires the brain. And whatever rewires the brain, it creates patterns and behaviors. And with those patterns and behavior impacts the body. And what impacts the body impacts the nervous system. And what impacts the nervous system impacts the immune system. So these experiences, thoughts, and behaviors either boost or weaken the immune system. So when you think about COVID-19, of all the different things that someone may be dealing with, again, stress, stress, stress. It's not just about what you're thinking, it's what stress does to the body. I can use myself for an example in the sense that I have come to realize that when it comes to my mind, I'm good in my mind. I've always been positive. I've always been able to look at things, like at first I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then 30 seconds later, whatsoever, then I'm able to, get back, come up with a plan. Again, high, high coping effort. That's pretty much what that is. You figure out a way how to survive and you kind of move on. But what I've come to realize is what it does to my body. Whereas other people may view me as being anxious. I'm like, I may have a lot of anxiousness, but other people may view me as like rigid or anxiousness or something like that. And that's what my body has been holding on is to the emotion. And so without doing, put it like this, I came into holistic um, rituals and things like that just a few years ago. So before that, especially being in the mental health field, I didn't have anything to help settle me or ground me and things like that. These is why it's good to be able to go to our roots and pretty much find out what are those rituals that our ancestors did of how they were so resilient. Now, also remember, if our ancestors, put it like this, if we carry our ancestors' trauma and wounds, we also carry their treasures and resilience. Remember that, okay? I'm going to say it one more time. If we carry our ancestors' trauma and wounds, we also carry their treasures and their resilience. So make sure you remember that. You have generational treasures and you are resilient. Remember that. And so, again, with this article, they also talked about how the determination and strength also led to his death. And so the thing is that what can you do in order to to overcome that? And again, what it talks about is that over time, the grinding, thank you, over time, the hustling and grinding over time, if we continue to do that without healthy eating, without sitting in silence, without deep rest, without resting, again, it's continuing wear and tear in your body. It's continuing wear and tear of the body, and wear and tear of your spirit, and wear and tear of your mind. And then what ends up happening? One thing I want to point out too is that when all of those things happen, is that the subconscious, it is feeding the subconscious certain things. It's feeding the subconscious, you don't think this, but this is how it's reading, that you don't care about your body. And so that this is where being intentional so that you can pretty much do an overhaul on the things that society has put upon you. So again, let's look at society as being a virus. And so and so you are taking control over that by exercising, by sitting in silence, by having affirmations, by doing the positive self-talk. You are overriding the system. So that is how you override these systems that's in society, is by taking care of yourself. And so again, when it comes to, again, the wear and tear of the body, is like there's literally physical changes that causes black men to age quicker, become sicker, and die younger than nearly any other U.S. demographic group. And again, this is a wonderful, wonderful article. So please make sure that you read this article. The other thing is too is that, let's say for instance, you're doing all, you're working hard, and you're working day in and day out. Let's say you have a family, and so all of that impacts your family too, because over time you may not have enough time and the energy to really be there. You may not be in the mood. And then if you become sick, then they will be taking care of you. And my question is, it's not that was it all worth it, but did you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish in trying to generate generational wealth? So generational wealth comes from generational health, because you can't separate them. You can't separate them, because the whole point of living, it's not even about being happy when, it's enjoying now. That is where I think we as blacks may not do enough of. It's like, I would be happy when, or I would take a break when. It's all about taking a break now, because like, enjoy I'm just using the golf course as an example. Like I said, we see others on the golf course, whether they have it or not. It's not always about when or taking vacation. And so even if it's someplace local, do those things, because each thing that you do on an intentional basis, that is going to help reverse, and not only just reverse, but renew those sales. And I wish I could talk more about that, but that is not my expertise. So I'm going to leave that to, I'm going to give you some resources at the end. And so you will be able to connect with some of these individuals to either, not to even learn more, to pretty much begin a new lifestyle so that you can reverse what the society is putting on you guys. And so, again, if you're sick, then that impacts your family. And then on a financial basis too, it impacts your family on a financial basis. And then that causes stress for them. And then, because we already see it where, let's say if our parents become sick, we're taking care of our parents, and then that puts stress on us. And then we have our own health issues. And it's kind of like it goes down. And one thing that I do want to say about when it comes to as we get older, in our society, they have this thing, oh, when you get older, do you have aches and pains, and you get sick, and this and that and the other. Some of that is because of the things that we're doing today. So it's what we're doing and what we're not doing. And so again, when we're talking about self-care, we're just talking about pretty much preventing and stopping so that you can truly be there emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially for your loved one. So you can just be there, not just so that they can have that, it's so that you can enjoy it along the way, so that you can be 80 or 90 years old skipping down the street, so that you can be the one that's still, laughing and, not moody. Because again, when someone is moody, that impacts your loved one as well. So again, it's about overhauling the system. And in order to overhaul the system is to pretty much invest in yourself. And that is really the key. And that's where the system is set up so that we can work, 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 work. I even see it even within myself. And I'm like, I'm not even that kind of person. And they got me. I'm like, oh my. Um, the other thing too is that the article points out is that, oh, I love this. Pretty much with John Henryism, Sherman James, he's the one who had created the theory, and I can't remember right now, but anyway, someone was doing a study, and one of the things that they were talking about this one guy. He was the only child and of a single mother, and pretty much, he was doing like any other man wants to do, is to be able to, he wanted to be able to um, I can't even think right now. He wanted to be able to support his family, and also with his mother. And when his mother got sick, that was even more for him. And he also did things in the community and things like that. And all of these things are wonderful. But the question is, when did he find time to take care of himself? And so one of the things that I saw, I'm like, wow, it says that over the years, he built himself into multiple men at once, each a pillar to many others, the pastor who flocked, depending on him, on his counsel, the mentor known to his school, and also a football coach and a band director, and as well as a father. And so, again, with those multiple roles that a person can play over time, that can be wear and tear of your body. And again, wear and tear of your mind. So, even though you can have that determination in order to do certain things, but when are you going to have time to take care of yourself so that it can prevent the wear and tear of the body? And so, and again, when it comes to all of that, it end up stress impacts the blood vessels, the kidneys, extra pounds, diabetes, high blood pressure, and it's just a whole lot more. And And one thing that one person has said too is that he knew why his health was so bad. It was because he worked too hard. And so the question is, do working hard equate to having a bad health? Can you really do it? And one thing that I remember someone doing a study of millionaires, It was Damon John from the Shark Tank. And one of the things that he said was that what he found out, the things that they did, they invested in themselves, that they, exercised, they took time out for themselves, they went on vacation, they educated themselves. When I say educated, meaning like read books, and things like that, and they spent time with family, and they allow people, to, I guess you could say that's what you call a leader, in knowing what you need to do, but they took care of themselves. And I always ask people, like, if you ever read that book, Think and Grow Rich. I listened to the audio book of that, and I was really surprised, because I've heard different people, talk about it. I said, well, let me see what this book is all about. And, when we hear about things, we, may say, okay, I wonder what this is all about. But at the same time, we kind of come up with certain things in our mind. And so I did, and it probably had one chapter. I think it has like about 10, either 10 or 11 chapters, but only one chapter really talked about money. Everything else, it's about you. It's about what do you need to do in order to make the money. It's about self-development. It's about your mind. It's about exercising. It's about eating healthy. It's about, they even talked about praying, in that book. And I'm like, wow, wow. And that book was, I can't remember what year, but that book is pretty old. But it's still, buy it. I mean, people still buy that book, and it is definitely, definitely something that's recommended, especially upon entrepreneurs. And so, again, it's kind of like, what are the things that you're doing in order to invest in yourself? And, when you start kind of looking at why you're so tired, or why you have aches and pains, or a lot of times, like, people know that they're working a lot or working too hard, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor say, well, you got to get rid of this stress. And I hope that they would change how they say it, because it's not about getting rid of the stress, because a lot of times there's nothing that we can do to stop, whatever the stressor is really about managing and handling the stress. Is how you handle stress and how you manage stress. So that is what it's all about. It's more about how you manage the stress than anything else. And so the other thing that the article talked about, yeah, is that I kind of talked about a little bit of how society pretty much like blame the person. So pretty much blame. Oh, thanks for that. I'll look that up. Thanks for that. Yeah, someone was saying that Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbrough is a great spinoff of that book. It relates the concept to us culturally. And yeah, and we definitely need things from our perspective. I definitely agree with that. I agree with that. And so when it comes to blacks and our health, and especially black men and you guys' health, is that society, especially in the medical field, had this sense of blaming the person. And pretty much when it really came down to it, is really more of the system, because even when it comes to black on black crime, and I'm pretty much, even when it comes to that, a lot has to do with the way that the system is set up. Because even when it comes to drugs, we know that it's kind of like, none of us, don't have any planes that can come over here and deliver it and things like that, and how it was planted into the communities of Black communities and things. And so, um, and they pretty much have a sense of that Blacks just weren't taking care, we weren't taking care of ourselves. And but as I said in the beginning, what about the food desert, what about the redlining, what about the unequal pay? So all of that plays into of why Blacks in general have to work twice as hard in order to make it. And even when we quote unquote, whatever that make it is, when we are in certain environment, it's still, but again, even though the stress may not be conscious on a subconscious level, we know that we can't do the same thing as whites, or any other ethnic group, to be honest. Is that we have to make sure that we have that little checklist, we cross our T's and dot our I's and things like that. And so again, when I mean, even though sometimes I may come over here and say, eat healthy and exercise and meditate and things like that, I'm just encouraging you guys to take your power back. And this is how you take your power back, because the system has taken the power away from you guys. And even though, we as Black have accomplished a lot, but because of the system, a lot has been accomplished, but we still have a way to go. And so you can take your power back is by gaining power by investing in yourself. And so, how do you invest in yourself? I mean, that would be the question, is for you to, sit with yourself and say, hey, what is it that I can do so that, you can have a better life, so that you can truly be there, not only for your family, but really be there for yourself. You know, um, Sometimes just by waking up in the morning, yes, it's a blessing, but also it can be very stressful. So, what are some of those things in which you can do? And again, one of the things that like say for instance in this society, it forced parents to risk their lives working long hours for low pay and without sick leave. And especially if you're talking about some families in which, they are making, not even, I mean, sometimes some people work even less than what the minimum wage is. And, the minimum wage isn't enough for a person for themselves, let alone if they have children or family and things like that. And so, again, let's see, what else do I want to cover in here? Yeah, the other thing I want to point out is that when it comes to stress, again, it's a physiological reaction that is hardwired in the body that helps protect it against external threats. And so, in one sense, reacting to stress can be very helpful. What it is, though, is that how long, the prolong of that stress. And we live in America, so as Blacks, we're enduring stress all the time. So it's kind of like our body is constantly, our society keeps us in the fight flight freeze, in the fight flight freeze, it keeps us there. So this is why it's important to be intentional about your self-care, so you can turn that off. So you can turn off the fight flight freeze, so that you can enjoy life, so that you can go back out there and do the things that you love, and like whatever your purpose is, that is what it's all about. That's what self-care is all about. It's so that you can do those things that you want to do so that you can generate the generational wealth that you want for yourself and for your family so you can leave a legacy. And so take your power back by taking care of yourself. That is the power of self-care. It's kind of like, it's almost like when you're marching, march for yourself first and then come into community. Because again, if you're out there marching too long, then that's going to be wear and tear of your feet. Then you're hungry. So are you taking care of yourself? I mean, not unless you're fasting. Now, if it's intentional, that's fine. But if it's not intentional, because the other piece of it is that getting your mind right, allowing yourself to be able to focus on certain things as well. And so, again, when it comes to self care, it's about you having power of yourself. Because, again, the way that the system is set up, the way society is set up, I mean, even for corporate jobs, I mean, even like for mental health, in some settings, either it's all about productivity and this and that and the other. You barely have time to do notes. And then sometimes in another setting, it can just be so busy, you barely have time to get up and use the bathroom, you know? And so, regardless of the person's job, it's kind of like, what can you do at that particular time so that you can, counteract that stress, that busyness. I can remember, I don't know if they still ask this, or not, but they always ask, or they used to ask, are you, can you multitask? And I used to be good at multitasking. I was the queen of multitasking. But now I'm like, I'm taking that off of my resume. I would say I'm mindful task, because the other thing is that at the end of the day, you're truly not multitasking. Something's going to be left behind, and that's too much for the brain anyway. There's too much information that's going around at the same time. And then people are demanding, and then people tend to expect that when it comes to it as well. And so, no, 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 no. No more multitasking, okay? The other thing, too, when it comes to, the John Henryism, to consider is, we've all heard about, early childhood. I mean, no, I'm saying early, adverse childhood experiences and how that plays a part. And so, for those of us who grew up in single parent home, who may have grown up without fathers, who may have grown up, especially if someone had experienced any type of abuse, and even when it comes to neglect, any type of trauma. And so you have that is more than likely unresolved. Or if you, it depends on what type of neighborhood that a person may have lived in. If you lived in a neighborhood where there was a whole lot of crime, especially gunshots, and so, there's, post traumatic slave syndrome as well. And so, all of that's carried in our bodies. And even when it comes to just even our perception about things, the messages that we get, it may not be what our parents had intended, but it's just, it may not even be our parents. It could be teachers. It could be an interaction we had with someone. It's kind of like how we carry that on. And that's how we kind of develop, these patterns and personalities that we end up having anyway, like OCD traits. This has certain things in up. Sometimes it could be why you have to have the light on, or you don't like the dark, or you like certain things a certain way, and things like that. So all of that is get carried on. And then especially for you men, because you men have been socialized that Crying is weak. Be a big boy. Big boys don't cry. And then even if you do try and express yourself, then someone is telling you why you're doing that. You're being a wussy. And even as adults, sometimes you may be involved with a female who may think that you're weak because you're crying or because you're sharing your innermost thoughts and feelings, in which that is about being human. So that just shows you how ingrained it is, where some females are even thinking that way as well, of like, what is a man? You know what I'm saying? And of course, a man knows what a man is, but at the same time, it's kind of like society makes it seem like, at least when it comes to basically being a human, we eat, all humans eat, you know. We gotta have food, we need water, sex, and we also have emotions. All humans have emotions. So whether you're a male or female, that is something that we all have, and emotions go from one thing to another. And so, and let's see, what else am I going to address here? But yeah, I wanted you to make sure that you, that is a factor, should I say, when it comes to John Henryism. It's kind of like who you are. And also, even, when we were in our mother's womb, when it comes to pregnancy, it's like, what type of pregnancy was it? Was our mothers exposed to anything? How much support did they have? So, again, you're talking about carrying, that piece of it. And then the generational traumas and wounds that you guys have, on top of being the great men that you are and supporting your family. So again, these are the things that you can do, and that you can do. And so, what I am going to do now, I am going to wind down, because the main thing I wanted to do is just make you be aware of John Henryism and why self care is so, so, so important. So, I hope that you got a really good idea of what John Henryism is. And again, I guess you could say nowadays it's a hustling and grinding, but what can you do in order you can live a much healthier life? And so, one thing that I will tell you, because as you know, with Self Care for Black Men, we encourage, promote, and support self care for Black men grow, to heal and grow in all areas in your life, and that's emotionally, physically, and financially as well. And so, here are a few resources that can help you in different areas of your life. And I will put them in the not in the bio, but I will put them in the post so that you can have them. Pretty much when it comes to nutrition, definitely contact Shabaka Ahmed. He is the founder of the Plant Based Loser Challenge, and he has helped a whole lot of people turn their lives around when it comes to eating healthy. So it's not even it's I guess you could say it's a combination. It's a combination, especially if you want to lose weight, but it's also becoming healthy, and he is a living example of that. And so you can find him on Facebook and on Instagram, and just look up Shabaka Ahmed, and that's SHA. Oh, wait a minute. Shabaka. Can look at my own handwriting. And that's all men. And also, you can look them up by the Plant Based Loser Challenge on Facebook and Instagram as well. And also, Hood Health gives some really good information about nutrition, about health disparity. He's written books, he has a whole lot of stuff going on. I follow him. And then when it comes to your body, when it comes to your mind, when it comes to your spirit, when it comes to you, um, Blackboard's Arm is really good. So follow them. They have free things. They have donation based things regarding yoga and meditation, and so definitely. And let me tell you, fellows, there's no way around it. There is no way around of not taking care of yourself. Again, we already know the system, the way the society is. It is set up for all of us, really, to not rest. But it's up to you. Take your power back. You take your power back by taking care of yourself. Again, there's generational treasures and there's resistance. But in order to have all of that, it's about taking care of yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And in order to get the financial piece so you can have the materialistic things, is to address all of the other things as well. And also, of course, also remember self-care for Black men. And we're here self-care for Black men on Instagram and Facebook as self-care for Black men. And one thing that we do have on the fourth Saturday of each month is Uplifting Black Kings. And what that is, it's donation based, and it is pretty much it's having different conversations or we discuss different topics, manhood, provider and protector. We talked about what was it, emotional intelligence, self-love, and any topic that you want to talk about as well. But we also integrate self-care strategies, self-care rituals and practices, because it's so important. It's so important for you to take care of yourself when you're out there in the world, because it's all about you taking your power back so that you can live in your purpose, and you can live in your purpose, and so that you can take care of yourself and your family in all the ways, and you can have joy, and there can be laughter and things like that. Another good resource out there is King's Corner. They have a group on Sundays, and so just go out there. It's on Facebook. I'm not sure if they're on, it's on Instagram. I can't remember if they're on Facebook, but it is by Black Men Hill, and Black Men Hill is on Facebook and Instagram. And King's Corner is on Sundays at 7 p.m. They do require you to register. And also Uplifting Black Men, again, that's on the fourth Saturday of each month at 12 p.m. It's on a Saturday, and it requires you to register as well. And also another resource is follow Sean Stevenson. He pretty much has a podcast, just a lot of different things out there. And probably the best way to describe him is that I call it, he has the science behind health. And listen to his story. Listen to his story, because he talked about where he was sick and no one knew what it was, and pretty much how he integrated meditation, started eating healthy, and really I saw one interview that he did. He said he just made the decision that he was going to get well, that he wasn't going to be sick. And once he made that decision, it's almost, I kind of describe it as, you sick and tired of being sick and tired. And once he did that, then look where he is now. And when I say that, I'm talking more so about the joy that he has, doing what he's doing. He's in his purpose. When there's joy and you're in your purpose, everything else follows. That's how you end up getting abundance, you know. Also follow Junius Petty John. That's Petti John. And he is the creator or founder of Bridge Warrior Mindfulness and Wellbeing. And he does a lot of different things, but one thing that he does, and he's going to be on Self Care for Black Men IG Live this month, is journaling. And so writing out your thoughts is really, really, really important. It allows you to release them. That's important. And then also you can kind of go back and look to see are there any patterns and things like that. And so journaling is really, really, really important. And also check out Reiki Brothers, and that's Reikibros on Instagram. I don't know if they're on Facebook or not, but they're definitely on Instagram. And I happened to come into their IG Live a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, there's some pretty cool brothers. And energy healing is something, oh, it's powerful. It's needed. Again, all of these things are needed so that you can have clarity in energy so you can live in your purpose and you can have joy. So that again is about you taking your power back, taking your power back. And also check out Rashid Hughes. Just be and breathe. He's just be and breathe on Instagram. And he is a register for he's having, I can't remember, is it 4 weeks or 5 weeks workshop on rest, a practice for the tired and weary. And he's done some really good work out there as well. So definitely check him out. And if you need, or one more, affirmations. When it comes to affirmations, check out your creators. And I believe his name is Justin. He's done some wonderful affirmations. And just think about affirmations as positive self talk. It's to override, even if you don't have negative self talk, a lot of times you're not aware of it. Sometimes it can be in the subconscious. And sometimes by not having no talk is not good either. So by listening to affirmations, that helps feed the body. So that's really, really, really important to do. And so, yeah, definitely check them out. I like you are creators anyway, but when in listening to his affirmations, it's definitely what is needed. And if you need any resources for therapy, Uplifting. Contact Self Care for Black Men. And seem like, and also for those of you who may be in the Charlotte area, there's Wilson Oasis, and they have resources, and they also provide free counseling. And same thing with Black Men Hill. Contact them, depends on where you live. They provide some free counseling as well. And if you need some resources for Black therapists, check out Therapy for Black Men and also the Herder app. It started out as Hearing Health, and but now they're Herder apps. And so again, when it comes to John Henryism, yes, we love you men for being a provider, for going out there and fulfilling your purpose. But also, we need you, to be your full self, to be full of life, to have joy and happiness, to have humor and laughter, and to be well as time goes by. And so, in order to do that, that is where you take your power back. Again, this is the reason why self care is so important for you. It's like you get that rest, you feed yourself healthy nutrition. Because even with the food that you eat, or should I say, even don't eat, it's kind of like that has, that changes cells in your body, and cells in your body have chemicals in your brain, which, you know, impacts your energy level, and it also impacts how you think, and it impacts your mood. So everything is connected. Everything is connected. And so I'm ending here to say that you guys are wonderful. You are kings, you are warriors, but even warriors need their rest. And so have fun, eat healthy, be well. And thank for those who tuned in live, and thank you for those who will listen to the replay. And contact Self Care for Black Men for resources. Check us out regarding the programs that we do have, and also who we will be partnering with. And check us out on IG Live, and also, oh, one more announcement in that on Manhood, Fatherhood, Mindhood Facebook group, Black men join that group because on the third Monday at 6:30 of every month, we have Malcolm Rose, and he's pretty much it's pretty much talking about a king's journey to self. So it's kind of one of those things that you may have thoughts about, or you may not didn't even think about, but it's almost like you just know it's something, you just don't know what it is. Sometimes it's those thoughts that you may have and you just never talked about it. And you may have wondered about it, may not. And it's just those inner things that goes on inside your mind. So he and I will dialogue about that, every third Monday each month at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, that is in Manhood, Fatherhood, Mindhood Facebook group. So join that group, my Black Kings. And if you need anything, you know where to find me. So take care, Kings, and just know that you are loved, you are needed, and again, we need you. We need you. We need you. Take care.